Alright guys, so this will be our first virtual lesson, if you will. We're going to continue on. We are on 8.2, solving equations with negative coefficients. Now, I recommend you fill out these notes, guys, like you would if you were in class. I think it'll help be a reference to you on future assignments or quizzes or tests, just anything that you can have to look at, I think, is going to be beneficial. So we'll just go through these together. Just review: the coefficient is a number the variable is being. So the coefficient represents a number that's in front of the variable each time. So that's the number that the variable is being multiplied by. So go ahead and fill that in, multiplied by. And then it's kind of a review. It says tell the coefficient in each of the equation. So that is the number that is in front of the variable, or the letter. Again, we call them variables because they can vary. So anytime you just see an x, remember it's normally just a 1. And the reason they don't put a 1 in there is because 1 times anything is itself. So 1 times x would just be x. So those two things mean the same thing, 1x and x. So the next question is, all right, if I put a negative in front, what number is represented? What number is the coefficient? What number is in front of that x? Well, normally it'd be 1, but it is a negative x. So the coefficient in front is negative 1. Now it's not asking us to solve this one, but it could. It could say, what is x? So then I'd be thinking negative 1 times something is 8. And in this case, the answer would be x is negative 8. But again, it's just asking us for the coefficient. So we're just going to write down negative 1 as our answer. Number 2, again, just saying what's the coefficient, which number is in front of the x. Just like up here, nothing right now is in front of the x, so that just means 1. Some people might say 0. Well, 0 times x is 0. In that case, there would be no x, so that is why it has to be 1. Okay, this one they're trying to switch it up on us a little bit. This gives us a y, but it's the same thing. There's no number there, so it's just a negative 1 because of the negative sign. And easy one, they end with an easy one here, number 4. What number is in front of the x? And that is, of course, negative 2. All right, the next few problems here, it's telling us to solve. That means what is the variable? What is m, x, and x here on 5, 6, and 7? In order to do this, remember when we were in class, we talked about getting the variable by itself, isolating the variable. This, again, means 3 times something plus 6 equals 0. It's easy to check, so we might run a couple checks here just to be sure we are correct. So if I want to get the m by itself, I need to get rid of the positive 6. What is the opposite of a positive 6? It is subtracting 6. And what do I do to one side of the equal sign? I have to do to the other. So I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides, and I'm going to get 3m equals negative 6. Maybe you can see the answer at this point, but the opposite of 3 times m is dividing by 3. And I get m equals negative 6 divided by 3 is 2. Again, we can easily check our answer. Oh, excuse me. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Now we can easily check our answer. 3 times m plus 6 better equals 0. So I'm going to check my negative 2. 3 times negative 2 plus 6 equals 0. Following the order of operations, 3 times negative 2 is a negative 6. Plus 6 is 0. I know I am right on. That's an easy way to be sure you got your answer correct. Number 6 here, we have negative 2 times x equals negative 10. Opposite of times negative 2 is divide by negative 2. What you do to one side, you got to do the other. X equals 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. And again, you can check it. Negative 2 times negative 5 is indeed 10. Last one, negative x equals 8. So what does x have to be? Now I do have a negative there. Remember that stands for negative 1, so that means negative 1 times x is 8. So I'm just going to divide by negative 1. And I get x equals 8 divided by negative 1 is negative 8. X equals negative 8. And again, easy to check. The opposite of something is 8. And it's negative 8 because, of course, two negatives we know make a positive. Final question on this page. It says Carla and Jaden are friends. Carla is 2 years younger than Jaden. When their ages are combined, they add up to 26 years. How old is Carla? How old is Jaden? So we really don't know. The fact that they're friends doesn't really matter, other than it's cool to have friends, obviously. So we could eliminate that. And here's what we need to know. Carla's 2 years younger than Jaden. I have no idea how old Jaden is. So I'm going to put X for Carla. And if Carla is X and Jaden, it says, is older than Carla, Jaden must be 2 years older. So I'm going to use X and X plus 2. Again, Carla is 2 years younger. So if Carla is X, Jaden is 2 years older. So that's what I'm going to use for my variable. And then it says when their ages are combined, they add up to 26. So I'm going to add those two things together. X plus, that's Carla, plus Jaden is 26. Combined like terms, I have one X plus another X. That's two X's. Just leave the 2 alone. And there's my equation. 2x plus 2 equals 26. Again, I'm not going to touch that. Subtract 2. 26 minus 2 is 24. 2's cancel there. And I get, 2x equals 24. The x just stays the same. What's the opposite of times 2? Divide by 2. And I get x equals 12. So back to my original problem. Because x is 12, that means Carla is 12. And that means Jaden is 2 years older, is 14. All right. Next thing we're going to do is, again, take a couple notes. This is on page 301 in your workbook. We're going to go over a couple of these, and then that will be it for today. So the first one, it just says complete the equations. So negative 1 times 3 should be negative 3. 4 times what is negative 4? That would be negative 1. Negative 7 equals what times negative 1? That would indeed be a positive 7, because if it would be negative, that would have been a positive. Negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2. Negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. And negative 12 equals what times 12? And that would have to be negative 1. All right, a couple of problems here. We've done a few of these, so I'm just going to pick a couple today. This is 302. Let's talk about number 1. The opposite of what is negative 25? Okay, so if you would say 25, let's say I put a 25 there, does that equal negative 25? And indeed it would. If I would put a negative here, two negatives make a positive, they would not be equal. So your answer would be 25. Again, algebraically, negative 1 times a is negative 25, so I'm going to divide by negative 1 on both sides. Divide by negative 1, I would get just a equals 25. So that was an easier one you probably could just see. Let's go number 3. So I got negative 27 equals, all right, what is negative 3 plus another negative 6? They are like terms, so I'm going to combine them. And I'm going to get negative 9. So negative 9 times what is negative 27? If you can't see it, you got to do the opposite. Remember, this means multiply. Negative 9 times c, so the opposite is divide by negative 9. And negative 27 divided by negative 9 is 3. And again, we talked about how you can check it earlier. Last one we're going to talk about, number 5. 1m, remember that's a 1 there. If needed, you can write it. 1m plus 2m minus 4m. So if you have 1 apple, you get another 2 apples. And then you take 4 away. How many apples do you have? You have a negative 1m equals negative 5. So I just combine like terms. 1 plus 2 minus 4 is -1. So I'm going to divide by -1 to give me a positive m, and -5 divided by -1 is 5. Alright, so that is it for today, guys. Here's going to be your first assignment. Should be page 617. Not a lot there. Just be careful to watch the negative signs, and please show your work. There's nothing on the back, so you could do it on the back. I just don't know if you have enough room to show all your steps. I would like you to show your steps so we can talk about how to fix mistakes if we make any. And again, please label where necessary. And once you are done with this, I would appreciate it by tomorrow. And you can just submit it online to me, take a picture, and send it back. All right, thanks guys. Have a good day.